How's it going, everyone? Happy summer solstice. If you're wondering why I'm indoors and, during the hottest day of the year or the lightest day of the year, don't ask, man. I don't even know. But I do want to talk to you today about something that did interest me. There was a South African actor, speaker, and storyteller called Sanaliswe Jobodwana. I think that's her name. Sanaliswe Jobodwana, who basically said that racists and bigots, and I'm going to apply this to gangstalkers as well. She said that these people don't care that you're calling them by their name. Racist people don't care that you're calling them racist. Bigots don't care that you're calling them bigots, not really. And the gangstalkers don't care that you call them gangstalkers. She didn't say gangstalkers, but I'm saying it. She said that what these people care about most is being excluded, not ignored. Not ignored. That's a whole different ballgame. Being excluded. Now, I myself have experienced this as a targeted individual. Whenever the gang stalking gets too much, what I usually do is I usually shut down and refuse to acknowledge the gang stalkers. Not necessarily because I want to engage in psychological warfare against them, but simply because they bring so much negativity to your doorstep day in and day out that actively acknowledging them, the brain can't take it, the mind can't take it, the body can't take it. So it shuts down. It locks off the attention. At a certain amount of time, as a TI, you have to lock off the attention. So that's what I end up doing. I end up not acknowledging the gangstalkers. When the negativity gets so much, I just end up not acknowledging them. It's not a conscious choice. It's just something that I end up doing. But when I start ignoring them and I start looking after myself and I start watching videos that make me laugh and I start talking to people, talking to my friends, talking to my siblings. Sometimes I talk really loud as well. I don't know why. When I start talking to my friends, when I start talking to my siblings, when I start talking to, people that I'm related to on the phone, when I start speaking to people and we're laughing and we're joking, there are times where I won't bring up my neighbors or won't bring up the gang stalkers at all. And it literally just sends the gang stalkers crazy. Like, the more you ignore them is the more put out they feel. And then when you kind of exclude them from what you're doing on top of that, when you go out of your way not to talk to them, when you go out of your way not to acknowledge them, they get really, really violent. Because the thing about abusers and bigots and racist people is that they always see themselves as the main character. Listen. There was a recording that I said to myself. This is one of the reasons that the gangstalkers got upset. Because I made a voice recording of an idea that I was going to put forward for a video. And I said something along the lines of, bigots and gangstalkers are an invasive species. And it's the absolute truth. Because what the fuck do you mean that you hate me and yet you still want to exhaust every single ounce of my emotion and attention? And what do you mean that you hate me, but you still want me to hold you over it? It's like, when a child gets corporal punishment, or let's call it what it is, abuse. When a child is abused and they go back to their parent anyway, because that's their only source of nourishment, that's their only source of emotional comfort. That's exactly what this is like, only I'm spanking you just by existing. That's literally what it's like. I am spanking these people just by existing. They feel like they have been put through pain just by my existing. And because they are so in pain, they feel so wretched at the fact that I exist, And yet the only people they're willing to come to for comfort are the same people that they hate. It's literally like that. That's what this is literally like. My existence is literal pain for these people, to the fact where they want to be held like babies, but they want to be held by the same people they hate because they don't know any other person to turn to. Because when you hate so much, when you hate to this degree, who else are you going to turn to comfort apart from the people you've been pouring hatred onto? Who else are you going to go to? So hold on, let me get her name again. When Salisiwe Jobodwana talked about how racists hate not being acknowledged, they're 1,000% right. They hate not being acknowledged. They're literal children. Literal children. They're children with the dangerous power of adults. And the lack of acknowledgement that you give them, when you don't give people that have gained privilege through your pain, when you don't give them that acknowledgement, they use even more pain as a way to get your attention back. Every tear you give them, every piece of anger you yell at them, it satisfies them. It soothes them from the inside, because now I'm getting some acknowledgement. I'm getting some acknowledgement. But do you know what we call people like, again, do you know what we call people like that? Who need to suck every piece of energy and resource out of another person? We call that an invasive species. That's an invasive species. When you are violent to the point where you dehumanize other people for what they are rather than who they are, right? You become an invasive species. You don't have any respect. You don't respect their home. You don't respect their possessions. You don't respect their bodies. You don't respect their time. You don't respect their emotions, because you don't assume that it all belongs to you. But when you have the emotional maturity of a baby, you see the world of the people you hate as an extension of your own. They don't have any, thoughts or feelings of their own. They don't have nothing like that. It's all yours. It's all to do with you. Everything is about you. When you're an abuser, everything is about you. Everything is about you and your comfort. Everything is about you and how you feel. Everything is about you and whether or not you're acknowledged. That's literally how a virus behaves. That's literally how a virus behaves. It doesn't merge. It invades. It invades everything, every aspect of your life. So when you think about it, white supremacy, misogyny, homophobia, all of it, every single horrific act of genocide that has ever happened throughout human history, it happened literally for attention. Literally for attention. Literally for attention. That's why genocide happens. Because people who have been given all the power and all the freedom through their own violence, they could have everything and it's still not enough. To the point where just you ignoring them and excluding them from your world, from your inner world, feels like an affront to them. That's literally an invasive species. That's how an invasive species behaves. So this woman's son, hold on, let me get her name right. Sanalisiwe Jobodwana. Sanalisiwe Jodobwana. I hope I pronounced her name correctly, but that sister right there, when she talked about how racist people, and especially racist white supremacists, hate not being acknowledged and hate being excluded. Yeah, that's it. That's literally the mindset of a baby. The mindset of a baby is like, everything is my world. Everything is subjective. So, you owe me your attention. And it's incredibly scary dealing with people with the mindset of babies. Again, back in December, I was in that same situation. The frequency weapons were cranked up to like 1,000, and to cover up for incredibly serious crimes that I've already talked about. I know what that feeling is now. That's the feeling that gangstalkers walk around with all the time. After I had gotten to a level of internal darkness that I had never experienced before, all I wanted after, like, I was angry. I was angry for like 3 days. It wasn't me, I know that. It was to cover up child trafficking and child rape, right? But those 3 days in which those frequency weapons were aimed at me, I finally understood what perps feel every day, what bigots feel every day, what racists feel every day. It's not just addiction. It's literal emotional, it's infantile, it's an infantile emotional structure. That's what abusers have, that's what gangstalkers have, that's what racists have, that's what bigots have. An infantile emotional structure. Because you feel like you want, like, these people feel like they want to kill all the time, and they're quite prepared to do it, but they still want to be held by the people they're trying to kill. They still want to be held by the people they're killing and torturing. They still want to be held by them. Racists are no different. They want to hate you, and they still want to be held by you. Sexists want to hate you, and they still want to be held by you. And if you don't hug them, if you don't coddle them, then they will use violence to make you do it, or to get rid of you. That was such an, like, I've said this so many times, but this is like such an eye-opening thing, and it just really makes you think. And going back to the whole racist being addicts thing, there's one dark thing about addiction that I want you guys to pay attention to, and that's this. Sometimes your addiction is the one thing that stops you from ending your life. I'm going to say it again. Sometimes your addiction is the one thing that stops you from wanting to end your life. And if racism is an addiction, to the point where people need racism to be able to live, what does that mean for the people on the receiving end of it? Really think about that. If racism is an addiction, and there's been a scientific study for 2 years that implies, yes, it is. If bigotry is an addiction, if abuse is an addiction, if racism is an addiction, and you cannot survive and you cannot function without the misery of others, if you feel like your addiction to cruelty is the only thing keeping you on this planet, what does that mean for the people on the receiving end of it? And once again, it comes back to being an invasive species. Because I know what it's like to be addicted to food. I know what it's like to be addicted to games. I'm in the middle of gang stalking. I'm being gang stalked and being tortured and trafficked slowly. I know what it is. I absolutely know what it is to go through addiction. I'm addicted right now. I'm addicted to sugar and screens. Also, I'm addicted to limerence. That's another thing that I'm addicted to. Feels so good to say it. So I'm addicted to limerence, not sex, limerence. I'm addicted to limerence, food, and screens. Those are the things that I'm addicted to. Those are my vices of choice. And sometimes when gang stalking gets really bad, limerence can be the thing that I come back to. Food can be the thing that I come back to. Screens are the thing that I can come back to because they are addictions, and addiction can be the one thing that stops you ending your life. For people who are racist, it is literally the same. There are times when they feel like they want to die, and that addiction to racism is saving their life. That addiction to abuse, for some abusers, is saving their life. That addiction to cruelty is saving their life. That addiction to misogyny, to homophobia, is the one thing saving their life and keeping them here. Think about how far racism goes when it's taken to extremes. Think about how far bigotry goes when it's taken to extremes. Essentially, it's the addiction to draining the life force of another person that keeps certain people here. And this is exactly what I'm talking about when I talk about an invasive species. That is what abusers are. And that is what bigots are. And that is what gangstalkers are. An invasive species. This whole program is built upon military warfare, psychological warfare, energetic warfare. Literal artillery is being used. It's just that artillery, well, not artillery, a literal arsenal of weapons is being used against the victims. They're just not bullets. It's light and sound. But that is literally what gangstalking is built on, being an invasive species. That's what the far right are built on, being an invasive species, because there is no way to keep them alive, no way to keep these kinds of addictions alive without trafficking and genocide on a mass scale. And not even of the innocent, especially of the innocent. My thing is, there's no point in gangstalkers being gangstalkers and trying to have a conversation about who they think they are. There's no point in racists doing that either. There's no point in bigots doing that either. There's only one thing that you are, and that's an invasive species. When you remove the humanity from another person, you lose your own. And it's as simple as that. You lose your own. You're not human anymore. You're a virus. You're a cancer. You're a fucking weed. It doesn't matter where you're put, you're going to grow. And strangle the life out of other plants that are around you. Because your very existence, there are times where your very existence depends upon another's destruction. Invasive species. Know what I mean? You have to understand what these people are. And I was supposed to be a gangstalker at one point. I had the qualifications for it. Seeing extreme situations kind of elevated my dopamine. Like, I don't know, it's a journalist in me. Dangerous situations that don't necessarily involve me, like juicy stuff. Like, I had the makings of a gangstalker. Why do you think I'm so good at turning things around on these people? I was not supposed to be a TI. I was supposed to be a stalker. I was supposed to be a stalker. But I can't be controlled like that. And also, my neurodivergence is so powerful and it's so strong that it's not that I can't lie. I've lied before, but it's just like, I don't bullshit very well. I can't bullshit very well. I can't. I'm not good at it. I'm not good at it. Like, I'm really not good at bullshitting. It's not that I'm a human being. Little white lies, just like everybody else. But bullshitting is not good at that. That's the thing that stopped me from being a gang stalker. I'm convinced. That's the thing that stopped me from being recruited. I'm not good at bullshitting. It doesn't mean I haven't done it. I'm just not good at it. I'm not good at bullshitting, and I can't be controlled like that. Like, my neurodivergence is so strong and it's so powerful that I can't be controlled by the same people who would have hired me. There are certain times where your neurodivergence is really strong, and there are other times where, like, it's literally so strong that you can't function in the way people need you to. So that's the third thing. Third thing is that I was low functioning. Those three things that stopped me from being a gang stalker, they actually saved me in the long run. Because now I'm on the right side of history. Through being a failure, through being like, you know, not being good at bullshitting, through having a dramatic aversion to being told what to do, through being low to medium functioning, I literally saved my own soul. I saved my own soul just by being myself. But I could have been a gang stalker. I could have been. Why do you think I know gang stalkers so well? Been around abusive people my entire life. I've even been mean to people myself, abusive myself. I know how abusers work. Why the fuck do you think I'm able to turn it around on them? Only, my thing is this: if I have the qualities that I have, why the fuck should I waste them targeting innocent people when I know what my strengths are? Why should I do it? Why the fuck should I do that? And I know I should keep certain things to myself because I already know, like, how, like, all my flaws, because looking the way that I do, being the way that I am, I know how my flaws can be used against me. I'm not stupid. I'm not stupid, never been stupid. But I'm telling you guys this because not only can people change and can people be redeemed, there are those of us out there that are willing to be the bad guy for the good ones. There are those of us who know how villains work, and instead of helping the villains, we're going to expose them. We're going to expose them, and we're going to reveal them for what they are. We're going to reveal these viruses, these cancers, for what the fuck they are. Some of us are not going to allow villainy to define who we are. And we demonstrate that through our actions and through the side that we choose to fight on. So yeah, to summarize, racists, abusers, and bigots, the thing they hate most is being excluded. And exclusion starts with being ignored. It starts with being stonewalled. And then it goes a little bit further into, you know, being able to have fun and not including the racists, not including the homophobes, not including the stalkers, not including the perps. Being able to laugh, like, it really, like, it bothers the gang stalkers so much when I laugh. Like, it bothers them so much when I laugh. Oh my God, that's their favorite thing to try to weaponize against me. Me laughing at funny videos just because they're not included in it. Me singing, they love to weaponize that too, because they hate feeling excluded from anything. Even me talking about how they're an invasive species right now, as hurtful as that is, if they're really honest with themselves, they would rather that than have me ignore them. Oh, just to let you guys know, update. A lot of gang stalkers have been ignoring me, by the way, and they're getting worried because it's not working. I'm not being funny, right? But when you don't have to put up with weaponized kindness, when you don't have to put up with interactions that are weaponized against you to make you feel a certain way, life gets a lot more fucking peaceful. So I don't know how they thought that was going to work. Ignored by who? I mean, I'm being ignored by a bunch of people. Again, like I sound like a broken record. Like who fucking enabled child trafficking and child rape. And in some cases, child fucking murder. Bitch. There are people, the people ignoring me are working for the people who protect the very worst people in society. What the fuck do I need their approval for? For anything? I mean, my God. So yeah, they're ignoring me and they think that bothers me. It doesn't. It's been extremely peaceful. It's been very, very peaceful. When people who are weaponizing every social interaction against you shut the fuck up and move on, it's peaceful. It's really, really peaceful. It's beautiful. I'm going to enjoy it for as long as I can, because they're going to switch tactics again. And I know I keep giving them ideas because they're stupid and, you know, I can't help myself. I'm kind of the kind of person, like, low-key, I'm like, look at how smart I am. And I'm very smart, but like, sometimes I'd be giving Gangstalkers ideas because of my intelligence. Like, sometimes, that, you know, again, invasive species. Sometimes, like, their ideas to torture me, which, of course, backfire, they like to take from my videos. Of course it's going to backfire. I'm the one who told you to do this shit. I'm the one you got ideas from. Of course it's gonna backfire. The fuck? But that's what they like to do. That's what they like to do. But yeah. That's some food for thought, my fellow TIs. That's some food for thought. There is no way in this world to survive without borrowing as much energy as possible from another thing or another person. The point when you're a human being is to gain as much joy and happiness as possible and to spread as much joy and happiness as possible whilst using as little as possible from what's around you. That's always the challenge for like human beings, to like take as little as possible, like taking as little as possible from the world around you and adding as much to the world around you without risking your own health, without risking your own well-being, without risking your own sanity. That's the challenge, you see, because we're all on this planet to bring joy and bring wisdom to the world, right? That's what we're here for. And in order to do that, we have to like minimize, because again, everything on the planet, everything in this world needs to borrow energy from somewhere. We live in an existence of trade. So it's unavoidable taking something from someone, taking energy, time, money, resources from someone, like even someone as low level as me. Unavoidable. Unavoidable. Completely unavoidable. It doesn't matter who you are, where you come from, what race you are, what your background is. Everything needs to borrow something. The key is to minimize how much you take from the world around you, and and giving back as much to the world around you as possible, because those things multiply and come back. The problem is we live in a world now where people take more than their fair share, and they're the ones who are dictating the societal rules. They're the ones who dictate how people behave, how people view themselves. They even detect how we tell time. What year is it? 2026? No, it isn't. How long have human beings been alive? How long have human beings been alive? Do we even know what fucking time it is? No, because the leeches at the top, they are determining and they are deciding how we tell time and what year it is. That's how deep this shit is. That's the world we live in. So I'll leave you with some food for thought on that one. And now I'm gonna go. Yeah, I'm gonna go. But my fellow TI, stay strong, stay blessed. I hope I explain myself well, because I tend to meander into different areas, right? But I hope I explain myself well anyway. We'll talk soon. We'll talk again soon. Happy summer solstice. And I'll see you next time. Peace and blessings. Mwah. Bye.